When silence spoke louder than words, the void between stars had always been silent, but today it carried whispers of discovery. Deep in the Kavari Empire's expansion fleet, Scanner Prime Yixnel watched her instruments with growing interest. The readings were unusual for this sector of space-organized electromagnetic patterns, structured energy signatures, and most intriguing of all, signs of industrial civilization. "Commander Zethra," she called across the bridge of the massive dreadnought wall breaker, "I've found something you need to see." Zethra moved with the fluid grace typical of his species, his 4 arms adjusting various controls as he approached. The scanning station. His elongated skull housed a brain capable of processing multiple thought streams simultaneously, making him one of the Empire's most effective expansion commanders. The silver marks across his dark skin indicated his rancor. Being who had brought 17 worlds under Kavari control. "Show me," he commanded, his voice carrying the harmonic undertones that made Kavari's speech both beautiful and terrifying. The holographic display materialized between them, showing a small yellow star with several orbiting planets. The third planet pulsed with the telltale signs of civilization's city lights on the night side, orbital installations, and the geometric patterns of agriculture visible from space. "How advanced are they?" Zethra asked, already calculating the resources needed for conquest. Yixnel manipulated the display, zooming in on various installations. "Primitive by our standards, Commander. They appear to be in their early space. Age, basic chemical rockets, simple satellites. No sign of faster-than-light capability. What's unusual is their communication patterns. Explain." Most species at this level of development broadcast constantly military communications, entertainment signals, scientific data. These beings seem remarkably ... quiet. Their emissions are minimal, almost deliberately restrained. Zethros' mandibles clicked in amusement. Afraid, perhaps. Some species go silent when they sense they're being watched. "Perhaps, Commander, but there's something else. Their planetary defense grid is almost non-existent. A few orbital platforms, some atmospheric fighters, but nothing that could threaten even our smallest escort vessels." The commander studied the readings with growing satisfaction. In his long career of expansion, he had encountered every type of resistance from the howling berserkers of Krexnine, who fought until extinction, to the cunning Vethany, who had tried to negotiate their way out of subjugation, but silent primitives, who offered no real defense. This would be the easiest conquest of his career. "Prepare a contact fleet," Zethra ordered. "Standard diplomatic approach. Let's see what these quiet little beings have to say for themselves." 3 days later, the Kavari contact fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 5 sleek warships, each one capable of reducing a continent to ash, moved in perfect formation toward the blue-green world that had caught their attention. Their hulls gleamed like black mirrors, absorbing and redirecting electromagnetic radiation in patterns that made them nearly invisible to primitive sensors. On Earth, the detection came through the Deep Space Monitoring Array, a network of telescopes and sensors that humanity had quietly constructed over the past 50 years. Dr. Marcus Webb, the array's chief astronomer, was the first to spot the impossible readings. "Director Chen," he called urgently into his communication device, "we have visitors." Director Maya Chen arrived at the monitoring station within minutes. At 52, she carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. Her silver hair was pulled back severely, and her dark eyes missed nothing as she studied the incoming data. "How many ships?" she asked. 5 confirmed. Possibly more we can't detect." They're using some kind of stealth technology that's making our sensors work overtime just to track them. Maya nodded grimly. For 30 years, she had headed the Silent Earth Protocol, a program so classified that fewer than 100 people on the planet knew of its existence, while the rest of humanity went about their daily lives. Her team had been preparing for this moment, the day when Earth would no longer be alone in the universe. Alert status to condition silent, she ordered. No aggressive actions, no threatening broadcasts. We watch, we listen, and we prepare. The Kavari fleet took up position just beyond lunar orbit, close enough to demonstrate their technological superiority, but far enough to avoid appearing immediately threatening. The lead ship, Commander Zethras Worldbreaker, began broadcasting. On multiple frequencies, primitive beings of the third planet, the message began, translated into perfect English by advanced linguistic algorithms. I am Commander Zethra of the Kavari Empire. We have come to evaluate your world for inclusion in our great civilization. Prepare your leaders for communication. The response from Earth was swift but unexpected. Instead of the panicked babble of questions and demands that usually followed first contact, a single, calm voice replied. Commander Zethra, this is Director Maya Chen, speaking for Earth's unified government. We welcome contact with your civilization and are prepared to discuss terms of peaceful coexistence. Zethra exchanged glances with his crew. Unified government. Most primitive worlds were still divided into competing nation-states at this level of development, and the humans spoke of peaceful coexistence as if she believed there were multiple options available. Director Chen Zethra replied, allowing a hint of condescension to enter his voice. You misunderstand the nature of this contact. The Kavari Empire does not negotiate with primitive species. We are here to inform you of your new status as subjects of the Empire. Your world's resources will be harvested, your population will provide labor, and your leaders will be replaced by competent Kavari administrators. There was a pause before Maya responded, and when she did, her voice remained perfectly steady. I understand your position, Commander. However, I believe you may have misunderstood ours. We are prepared to discuss mutual benefits, but we cannot accept subjugation. Laughter erupted across the bridge of the Worldbreaker. Zethros officers found the humans' response absurdly naive. Scanner Prime Yixnel had to steady herself against her console as harmonic laughter made her whole body vibrate. Director Chen Zethra said when the laughter subsided, perhaps you don't fully grasp your situation. Our smallest escort vessel could reduce your largest city to ruins in minutes. Your entire planetary defense grid couldn't scratch our hull. Plating, what possible leverage do you believe you possess? Commander Maya replied, we've observed your ships and analyzed your technology. We understand that you possess significant military advantages. However, we believe that conflict would be unnecessary and costly for both our species. We propose a different arrangement, which is we offer Earth's scientific knowledge and cultural contributions to your empire in exchange for autonomous status within your territories. We would become willing partners rather than unwilling subjects. Zethra's secondary arms drummed against his command chair in amusement. Your scientific knowledge, you barely understand the principles that power our simplest tools. Your cultural contributions, what could primitives who've never left their own star system possibly offer an empire that spans 1,000 worlds? We offer something unique, Commander. We offer silence. The statement was so unexpected that it took several seconds for its implications to sink in. Zethra leaned forward in his command chair. Explain. Throughout the galaxy, every species Fights, they resist, they rebel, they cause problems that require military intervention and administrative oversight. We propose a different relationship. Earth would serve as a research and development world, working quietly on projects beneficial to the Empire. We would cause no trouble, require minimal oversight, and provide consistent results. Zethra considered this. It was true that most conquered worlds required significant military presence to maintain order. The Vethani still launched terrorist attacks 50 years after their conquest. The Krek survivors had formed guerrilla bands that plagued shipping lanes. Even the docile Maloney required constant monitoring to prevent uprising. An interesting proposal, he admitted, but ultimately irrelevant. The Empire doesn't negotiate with primitives, regardless of how cooperative they claim to be. You have 48 hours to prepare for transition to Imperial rule. Resist, and we will demonstrate why resistance is futile. The communication ended, leaving Maya Chen alone in the Deep Space Monitoring Center. Around her, technicians and analysts worked quietly, their faces showing no panic despite the magnitude of the threat they faced. This was what they had trained for, what they had prepared for through decades of patient work. Maya activated her secure communication link. Phase 1 is complete. The visitors have revealed their intentions and capabilities. Begin Phase 2 preparations. Across the globe, signals went out to carefully hidden installations, in underground bunkers, sealed laboratories, and orbital stations disguised as communication satellites. Teams of scientists and engineers began their final preparations. The Silent Earth Protocol was moving to its next stage. Commander Zethra spent the next day conducting detailed scans of Earth's surface. What he found confirmed his initial assessment. The humans were indeed primitive. Their cities were built using crude materials and basic engineering. Their transportation systems relied on fossil fuels and simple electrical power. Their weapons were chemical-based projectiles and primitive nuclear devices that posed no threat to Kavari shielding. Most tellingly, there was no sign of panic or desperate military mobilization. A few ships had been moved between orbital stations, but nothing that suggested serious preparation for war. The humans seemed to be going about their daily routines as if nothing had changed. They're either remarkably calm for primitives facing conquest, observed Tactical Officer Crenvier, or they're too stupid to understand what's happening to them. Both possibilities work in our favor, Zethra replied. A docile population is easier to manage than a rebellious one. What the Kavari scanners didn't detect were the subtle changes occurring across Earth's surface. Power grids were being rerouted through hidden channels. Manufacturing facilities were switching to carefully prepared alternative production schedules. And deep beneath the Earth's oceans, the Moon's surface, and in the asteroid belt, installations that had been dormant for decades were quietly coming online. Maya Chen stood in the primary command center of Project Leviathan, a facility carved into the Moon's far side and shielded from detection by layers of advanced materials that Earth's scientists had spent 30 years perfecting. Around her, the culmination of humanity's greatest secret project was taking shape. How long until full operational status? She asked. Chief Engineer David Park checked his displays. 18 hours, Director. All systems are responding within acceptable parameters, and our friends upstairs, still conducting surface scans. They show no indication of detecting our lunar installations or the deep space assets. Maya nodded. The Silent Earth Protocol had been built on a simple premise: if humanity ever encountered hostile alien civilization. Their best chance of survival wouldn't come from immediate military response, but from patience, preparation, and the element of surprise for 30 years. While Earth's public space program launched visible satellites and conducted obvious research, a shadow program had been developing technologies that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Exotic matter, manipulation, quantum tunneling, zero-point energy extraction, all of it hidden beneath the carefully maintained facade of primitive development. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Commander Zethra felt a growing sense of satisfaction. The humans had made no desperate attempts to negotiate, launched no futile attacks, and shown no signs of panic. They were handling their conquest with remarkable dignity for primitives. "They're making this easy for us," he told his crew as they prepared for the final approach to Earth. "When this is over, we'll submit a report recommending Earth as a model for how primitive conquests should proceed." The irony of his statement would become apparent soon enough. In just a few hours, the Kavari Empire would learn that silence could be more dangerous than the loudest war cry, and that sometimes the most primitive appearing species were the ones who had been preparing the longest. On Earth's surface, Maya Chen received the final confirmation signals from installations. Across the solar system, everything was ready. Humanity had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment, and they had done so in complete silence, hidden from the very sensors that the Kavari trusted to reveal all threats. The aliens had mocked Earth's defenses, dismissed humanity's capabilities, and assumed that silence meant weakness. They were about to discover how wrong they could be. Asterisk from the void's heart. Humanity's answered the 48-hour deadline arrived with the punctuality that characterized all Kavari military operations. Commander Zethros' fleet moved into final position above Earth, weapons powered but not yet deployed. This was to be a demonstration of overwhelming force, not a massacre. The Empire preferred subjects who could work rather than radioactive ruins. Open communication with the planetary leadership, Zethra commanded. "It's time for these primitives to formally surrender." The response from Earth was immediate, but it wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of Director Chen's calm voice, there was only static. The Kavari communication officers tried multiple frequencies, different transmission methods, even primitive radio waves. Nothing. Earth had gone completely silent. "Scanner Prime, Yixnel," Zethra called, his mandibles clicking with irritation. "What's happening with their communication grid?" Yixnel's primary arms danced over her instruments while her secondary arms adjusted backup sensors. "Commander, this is unprecedented. Every communication, satellite, ground station, and transmission array on the planet has gone dark simultaneously. It's as if they've shut down their entire technological infrastructure. Are they trying to hide from us?" Tactical Officer Crenvier suggested. "Some species attempt to play dead when faced with conquest." Zethra considered this possibility. In his experience, primitive species sometimes shut down all systems in a desperate attempt to appear less threatening or valuable. It was a futile gesture, but it might explain the humans' behavior. "Maintain position," he ordered. "They can't stay dark forever. Their life support systems alone will require power restoration within hours." But hours passed, and Earth remained silent. The planet continued its rotation. Weather patterns moved across its surface, but no electromagnetic signatures indicated active civilization. It was as if 8 billion humans had simply vanished. "This is impossible," Yixnel reported. After 6 hours of continuous scanning, No species can shut down all technology for this long without massive casualties. They should be showing signs of systems failure, emergency power activation, something. Zethra's confidence began to waver. In 17 previous conquests, he had never encountered anything like this. Even the most technologically primitive species maintained basic power and communication during surrender negotiations. Expand sensor sweeps, he ordered. Check the entire system. Look for hidden installations, backup facilities, anything that might explain this behavior. The deep scans revealed something that made Yixnel's primary heart skip a beat. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. Where? Everywhere. The planet's moon is showing electromagnetic anomalies. The asteroid belt has heat signatures that weren't there before, and ... She paused, recalibrating her instruments. There's something in deep space, beyond the orbit of their outermost planet. The readings are unclear, but the energy signature is enormous. For the first time since arriving in the Sol system, Zethra felt a cold touch of unease. Define enormous, larger than our entire fleet combined, Commander. Whatever it is, it's been powering up for the past 12 hours. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a command bunker that had been carved from solid rock 50 years earlier. Director Maya Chen watched status displays that told a story 30 years in the making. Every indicator showed green. Every system was online. Humanity's greatest secret was ready to reveal itself. Final systems check, she ordered. Quantum tunneling drives at full capacity, reported Chief Engineer Park. Exotic matter containment. Stable, called out Dr. Sarah Martinez, the project's chief physicist. Defensive screens charged and ready, announced Commander James Harrison, a veteran of 3 decades of secret space missions. Maya took a deep breath. Everything her generation had worked for, every sacrifice made by the thousands of scientists and engineers who had labored in absolute secrecy, was about to be revealed. The Silent Earth Protocol had been humanity's greatest gamble that, when the day came, their patience and preparation would prove stronger than any alien aggression. Activate Phase 3, she commanded. Show them what silence has been hiding. In the deep space beyond Pluto's orbit, something impossible began to happen. Reality itself seemed to twist and fold as exotic matter manipulators carved a tunnel through the quantum foam that separated dimensions. From this artificial tier in spacetime, something vast began to emerge. On the bridge of the World Breaker, every alarm system activated simultaneously. Scanner Prime Yixnel stared at readings that defied everything she understood about physics and engineering. Commander, she whispered, her voice barely audible above the warning klaxons. Something is coming through from hyperspace, but it's not using any FTL technology I recognize. The main display screen filled with an image that struck fear into the hearts of beings who had conquered 17 worlds. Emerging from what appeared to be a tear in reality itself was a ship unlike anything in the Kavrai database. It was massive, 10 times the size of their largest dreadnought. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating the illusion of a mobile void in space. And along its surface, energy patterns flowed like living lightning, pulsing with power that made their sensors overload. Impossible, breathed Tactical Officer Crenvier. No species at their developmental level could build something like that. Longer, actually. That was just the first crash we could recover intact. We've been collecting debris and studying artifacts for over a century and a half. Every piece taught us something new. Every fragment helped us understand principles that our public science was centuries away from discovering. On Earth's surface, the blackout ended as suddenly as it had begun. Cities lit up, communication networks came online, and the planet resumed its normal electromagnetic chatter. But now that chatter included new signals, military communication protocols, defensive system activations, and the unmistakable signatures of a technological civilization far more advanced than it had initially appeared. The Silent Earth Protocol, Maya continued, was designed around a simple principle. If hostile alien contact ever occurred, our best defense wouldn't be immediate military response, but strategic deception. We've spent generations appearing primitive while developing technologies that push the boundaries of physics. Your arrival simply activated the final phase. Zethra struggled to process what he was seeing and hearing. The energy readings from the human ships were beyond anything in the Kavari technical database. Their weapon systems used principles he couldn't identify. Their propulsion technology seemed to violate fundamental laws of spacetime. "This is impossible," he repeated. "Species don't advance this quickly. Technological development takes millennia." "Not when you have samples to work from," Maya replied, "and not when your entire civilization is unified around a single goal. For 3 generations, Commander, humanity has prepared for this day. Every brilliant mind, every innovative engineer, every creative scientist has contributed to our preparation. We didn't develop this technology quickly. We've been developing it longer than your empire has existed." The tactical implications were becoming clear to Zethra's officers. Scanner Prime Yixnel reported in a shaking voice, "Commander, the energy signatures from their ships indicate weapons capabilities that exceed our defensive systems. Their propulsion technology appears to be at least 3 centuries beyond our current level. And ... double quotes, she paused, recalibrating again. They have 47 ships of this class positioned throughout the system." 47, Zethra whispered. "Each one," Maya continued, "is capable of engaging your entire fleet simultaneously. But Commander, we didn't reveal ourselves to threaten you. We revealed ourselves to change the terms of our discussion." "What terms?" "The same terms I proposed initially. Partnership instead of conquest. Earth offers our technological innovations to the Kavari Empire in exchange for autonomous status and equal treatment. The difference is that now you understand we're not offering this from weakness." Zethra looked round his bridge at officers who had served with him through dozens of successful conquests. All of them were staring at sensor readings that told the same impossible story. They were facing a civilization that had not only matched their technology but exceeded it. "Your offer of partnership," he said slowly. "What would it entail?" "Earth becomes a research and development center for the Empire. We share our innovations with your military and scientific communities. In return, we maintain our autonomy and begin a gradual process of technological exchange. Both civilizations benefit, and if the Empire rejects this proposal..." Maya's expression didn't change, but the energy readings from the human ships spiked noticeably. "Then we defend ourselves, Commander. We've spent 30 years preparing for conquest. We can spend 30 more preventing it." The silence on the bridge of the World Breaker stretched for long minutes as Zethra considered options that had seemed impossible just hours earlier. His fleet was outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology that made his weapons seem as primitive as the chemical rockets he had initially dismissed. "Scanner Prime," he said finally. "Open a channel to Imperial Command. Priority Alpha transmission." "Yes, Commander." "And Yixnel, when you transmit our report, make sure they understand that the humans are no longer classified as primitives. there to be reclassified as a major technological civilization. He turned back to the screen where Maya Chen waited patiently. Director Chen, I believe this matter has exceeded my authority to resolve. I'm requesting that Imperial Command send a diplomatic envoy to begin formal negotiations. Maya nodded. We'll be happy to receive your diplomats, Commander. In the meantime, we invite you and your crew to remain in system as our guests. We have much to discuss, and I think you'll find our hospitality more comfortable than you might expect. As communication ended, Zethra slumped in his command chair. In his long career of conquest, he had learned to recognize when the situation had changed beyond recovery. The humans had not just revealed advanced technology, they had revealed a level of strategic thinking and long-term planning that impressed even his analytically minded species. Orders, Commander, asked Tactical Officer Crenvier. Stand down, all weapons systems, Zethra replied. Maintain defensive posture only, and begin preparing cultural briefing materials for the diplomatic envoy. They're going to need extensive background on what we've discovered here. He looked out at the massive human ships that now dominated the system's sensor readings. For the first time in his career, Zethra was grateful that first contact protocols required diplomatic resolution before military action. The humans had turned the tables so completely that conquest was no longer an option. Partnership was the only path forward. In her command center aboard the Prometheus Rising, Director Maya Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Silent Earth Protocol had worked exactly as designed. Humanity had avoided a war they might not have won by demonstrating strength they had been hiding for generations. Begin Phase 4, she ordered. Full diplomatic protocol. Let's show them that we can be as generous in partnership as we would have been devastating in war. As the human and Kavari fleets settled into a cautious but peaceful coexistence, both species began to understand that first contact had become something neither had expected. The aliens had mocked Earth's defenses and dismissed humanity's capabilities, but silence had concealed preparation, and patience had enabled the greatest strategic reversal in galactic history. The age of human expansion into the galaxy was about to begin, not as subjects of an alien empire, but as equal partners in a civilization that spanned the stars.